Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the garage. Today we got some good news. We got pistons. So that was the main thing that we were waiting on. We also had to wait on the crank. The crank was done, but we just had to go pick it up. So we got pistons. We've got rods. We've got buttons. We even have wrist pins. So that means we're going to go ahead and move forward with assembling the engine. Now, we only have a 2-day weekend. It is Saturday right now, and it's middle of the day already. It's about 11 o'clock. I have today and tomorrow, maybe a little bit of Monday to work, and then we're heading out to PRI, so nothing Tuesday, and then I fly out on Wednesday. Unfortunately, Al is not going to be going. We just have too much going on at the shop, and he chose to stay back here and help all the guys and keep things moving here. So at PRI, it'll be just me. So we have about 2 days-ish that we can work on this engine and try to get it to a short block, maybe even a long block. Our valves did show up as well, so we can assemble the heads there, but I think the most important thing is let's get that short block done. We can assemble the heads maybe when we get back from PRI and then get it together. So let's get going. Let's go pull the block back out of the car. And we'll get it into the hot tank, get it in for what we've already fired that up. We're going to get it in and get a nice clean done to it before the final clean where we go through and wipe it all down. We'll get a little bit of oil and such on there. Now that the block is out of the car, in the hot tank over there, let's go ahead, we're going to clean up this bench real quick, and let's start getting some pistons mounted on rods, and we will get the crank out and start getting some bearings laid out, and we're just going to take in this whole area up and just lay out all of our parts and just take a count, make sure everything is there, and start getting that ready for the assembly. We will get the crankshaft in. We've already checked all the clearances on that, so we know everything is good there. So we'll get the crankshaft in there with the rear main seal, everything, get that torqued up. That'll be the first thing we do. After that, then we will continue to move forward, getting rods, pistons in. We need to file fit some rings, so that's going to be needed to be done. And try to get this to a short block as soon as we can. Alright, now you see, we've got everything kind of cleaned up. We've started laying everything out on the bench here. I do have the crankshaft. It is kind of sitting off camera over here, so we can get it in to the block. First thing I want to get done, though, is I want to get the rods and pistons hung, just because it takes up a lot of room, and then we'll put it onto our big rack that we've had. You guys have seen that before. And get kind of this stuff out of the way so we can then start working on the block. Getting the crankshaft put in, we need to file fit rings and get all of our oil plugs and plugs put in as well. We're going to show you exactly the different type of plugs this Brad Anderson block uses. It is kind of a neat little setup, so I'm hoping you guys like it. As well as we're going to go over some file fit and such 2. So we are using, because I think I've shown these before. We used them last year, same thing. I really like them. MGP rods. It is a billet aluminum rod. These are just shy of 7-inch. So they are a pretty long rod. We did change up this year. These are a billet piston from Gibtech. And one of the really neat things is it uses buttons. Our old engine used buttons as well, but they have designed a very neat system where the button actually interlocks in there so it can't spin and it won't disrupt the oil rail on here. So if that button were to spin at all, it could push against that oil rail and it could disturb that and let oil come through or anything. Now it can't do that at all since it has that interlock mechanism in there. Some of you engine nerds out there will ask this or be curious of it. We are using, this is an H13 tool steel wrist pin, all right? And it is a 250 wall. So it's a very thick, very, very strong wrist pin that we're gonna be using. So rods are hung on pistons, everything, or pistons hung on rods, whichever way you want to say it, because right now the rods are technically hanging. So anyway, it's time to get the oil plugs in. Now this is the oil galley plug, just a little O-ring there. It's threaded on the end, so when you have to pull it out, you can put a bolt in there and give it a little tap. There's 3 of these smaller ones, and then the cam plug. Now you see it's just an O-ring, so we have to have some way to hold that in. This block, or these blocks, are machined for a snap ring. So this will go in, gets pushed in, and then a snap ring is going to go in right here, and it pushes the snap ring, holds it in. Okay, let's see how this works. Obviously you guys are set up on the engine stand here. We have an oil galley plug right here, and we have a cam plug here. Here's our small oil galley plug. We're going to give it a little bit of assembly lube just on that O-ring so we don't rip anything. So, now that we've got that on there, we'll set it on and give her a nice little, it's got to snap in there. So you've got the groove, that first groove here. I like to put my other finger on here in case that thing goes flying. There we go. Now this is going to be the cam plug. There we go. Let's give her the little community college try. Ready? 1, 2. Took a couple there, but she's in. We're in. So that's how you put oil galley plugs in a Brad Anderson Hemi. So let's go ahead, get this flipped around and start getting the crankshaft ready to go in down there. Okay, well, let's get ready to slap everything in here. Had to run outside real quick and threw a hoodie on. Oh, even the heater's kicking on here. It's a little chilly up here. It's currently snowing outside, so if you're not in a snowy state, good job. Nice life choices. Let's go ahead and get this put in here. We gotta put some bearings in, oil seals. So the rear main seal on this is a double lip. It has an up and another up deal on here. This is meant for like alcohol and fuel cars. So we make sure we use that. Okay, so just a real quick one here. So we have all the bolts or all the nuts in for all the studs, and then all the side bolts. Something that is a good practice to do is right here. You can see, there we go, 130, 80, and 30. So our inner bolts inside are 130, the outside right here are going to be 80, and then 30 is going to be the bolts that hold the rear main seal in there. So we're gonna go ahead and get this torqued up, and then we'll make sure everything's good. We're gonna just measure some end play. If you haven't measured crankshaft end play, there's plenty of videos on that, so go check those out. And then we'll get this kind of flipped over and start, you know, file fitting rings. So you have your 3 rings on a piston. You've got these are gonna be your oil ring. This is second ring, and this is our top ring. On this specific setup, this is going to be what's called a Napier second ring. Basically, it has like a little scraper on there to help control oil. Instead of trying to get really close on there, I'm just gonna go like this. Napier, so it comes out, and see how it has a little hook? That's gonna help kind of scrape the oil off. For our top ring here, either gapless, we used Dykes last year as a torsional barrel face. This one is going to use a torsional style ring. The thickness on there, top ring here is a 1/16 of an inch. Second ring is 0.043, and then we are using a standard tension 3/16 oil ring. The gapping procedure for these is going to be high boost 30 plus, bore times 8 thou, bore times 8 thou, and then on our oil rail we want a minimum of 15 thou clearance between them. I'm pretty sure we're going to have that, not an issue. 8 thou and 8 thou, and our bore is 4.350. That's going to give us 34.8. So that would be 0.0348. We're just going to take, we're going to round up and add 1, just make everything a little safer. I'd rather have a little bit too much ring gap than not enough. So that's going to put us at a 0.036 ring gap on our first and second one. And alrighty, now that we have all of the rings file fit, I slipped them onto the piston. Basically, after I would file fit the top ring, I would take both of those rings and the oil ring, put it on the corresponding piston, and then go to the next one. That way, they're all set. If you're really curious about the putting rods on pistons and the rings and everything, go back to last year when we built this, when we did our rebuild, and watch that video, or a couple of videos. We talked a whole bunch about the rings and the pistons and putting everything in there. So I don't want to cover that again. We'll cover a little bit of it, but let's get to slipping these in. So I had to change a couple of things up how I was doing this. That's why it's in here now, and you didn't get to see the whole thing. I had to go to a different ring compressor. My other one has a ratchet on there, so you can tighten it down really good and it'll hold it, but it wasn't holding, and it was allowing, once the rings would come past the compressor, it would spring out right away. Also, the block, when it was machined, when they honed it for the size, because we're not running just their standard size for this, we went to the 435 instead of the 431 or 432. So I just went a little bit bigger. Anyways, when we did that, they didn't put a real big bevel on here. So whenever you see, or you get a block, you know, bored and honed, there should be a little bit of a machine bevel mark. Even if they took a sander on there, a lot of times they'll use a big sanding cone on a drill and just tap it, and it'll put a little bit of a bevel on it. If you don't have that, it can be very difficult. So this is gonna kind of kick my butt, but we've already got so much together. Next time when we have the block completely apart, we'll go ahead and I'll try to get that sanding cone and touch it up, because we don't want to get all the dust and everything all over. So go ahead, and we got number 1 in. We'll get 3 and 5 and 7 and all of them, and then we'll get it all torqued up. There we have it. So as you saw, we were having an issue with getting some of those pistons in the actual holes, and came up with an idea. What we did is we actually put duct tape inside here, and then we taped it shut, and then I was able to take a file on those edges and try to knock that edge down to get the rings in a little bit easier, and that ended up actually saving a whole bunch of time doing that. So and then the duct tape is actually able to catch all of the any debris in there. Then we went ahead and pulled everything off, blew it out, wiped everything down again twice to get everything so it was good. So now we have the short block together. You saw we have the rods torqued up, mains are torqued up, everything is good. We're gonna call it a day because I leave this week to go to PRI. We're going to go ahead and film while we're down there at PRI, or over in Indianapolis at PRI. So if there's anything that you are interested in seeing, want us to cover, or anything like that, just put a comment below. Helps us out a whole bunch. Don't forget to click that like button. We always appreciate that. And subscribe, ring that bell. All of those help us out a whole bunch on the channel. And the more that the channel grows, the more that we're able to bring you, content like this, maybe do some more traveling and such. But next episode that you see for the engine portion, we're going to go ahead and show you the assembly of the heads for this Hemi. We'll also have the PRI updates. Thank you guys for watching and subscribing. I appreciate it a whole bunch. And, like I said, let us know what you want to see at PRI, because we're going to be heading down there. But until next time, be safe, guys.